Any crimes discussed on this show are alleged, unless a guilty verdict was rendered. We are not legal experts. Any information that we talk about is presented with our opinions and is not to be taken as accusatory, libelous, or slanderous. Again, these are our opinions. So if they offend you or upset you, then you should probably be a better person. Welcome to the State of Jags address, where we confirm that people suck so you don't have to. I'm Greg, he's Chris. Thank God last episode's audio worked. I did not want to talk about Andrew Tate any more than we've already had to do twice.
I was worried I was going to get a text message Thursday night saying, it didn't work again. I'm like, I'm not doing this again with
No,
that guy.
at that point we would have just shut the podcast down because it's not worth talking about Andrew Tate 3 times. So yeah, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the previous 3 episodes. Today, we are getting into our first female Jag of the Week. And she is, quite frankly, more than just a Jag. Because if you don't know her, by the end of this episode, you certainly will. And if you do know her, you will have as much anger towards her as we do. We are talking about noted legal advocate Casey Anthony. And joining us for this particular episode, a noted fan of true crime, my wife Jen. How you doing, babe?
Hi.
So it's gonna be a good one because we are going to go in on this bitch.
Little disclaimer before we get started. This is our opinion, nothing more.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
She
murdered her daughter.
So let's get into Casey Anthony. Like we watched right before we started recording this podcast. We were actually watching Call Me Chris's video about Casey Anthony, and it was just 45 minutes of I want to punch this bitch, Casey Anthony, not Call Me Chris. We love you, Call Me Chris.
Just to set the record straight here, I absolutely love Call Me Chris.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Like one of my favorite people ever.
She is
on the internet.
wonderful.
She's hilarious.
Although Greg just learned that she's Canadian.
I mean, I think I kind of knew that, but like I haven't watched enough of her stuff to know that she was Canadian. It was just the way that she said out. I was like, okay. Anyway, let's get into this.
Where do we even start?
The year was 2008. Fresh out of high school. Oh man, I don't even know where to begin with this, and I feel like the case has been covered so thoroughly and so many times. Do we just start with the TikTok?
I mean, we could start with a TikTok.
Because that's really where the resurgence comes in.
Work our way backwards.
Yeah.
So, in recent weeks, Casey Anthony decided it was in her best interest to create a TikTok account claiming that she is a legal advocate and speaking on behalf of her dead daughter. This gained such negative reaction that she shut her TikTok account down 3 days after she posted this.
And automatically had comments shut off.
Oh yeah. She is the typical internet coward move to post something and shut off any response to it, as if people on the internet are immune to criticism. Has she met the internet?
I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't.
It's gonna be a short episode then.
I'm beerless tonight, so it's gonna be a little more filtered.
I mean, we can get you some alcohol.
No, it's okay.
I mean, I feel like if she can identify as a legal advocate, I can identify as a millionaire. I mean, let's be real.
Well, what'd she mean by legal advocate? How to get away with murder?
Yeah, I think honestly, because when you break down even just the circumstantial evidence that was found on this case, it's mind-boggling to me that she was able to get acquitted.
So, okay.
Honestly,
Devil's advocate here.
I'm ready.
So, after reading a little bit about the case, it was a failure of the prosecution.
Oh, for sure. They didn't have enough physical evidence to come back and really prosecute her the way they needed to.
Even the jury said, like, didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that the burden of proof always lay on the prosecution.
Definitely.
Which it should. And they screwed the pooch hardcore in this case, in my opinion.
I think it was one of those instances where they firmly believed that she was guilty, so they didn't look at any other avenues. And that happens a lot within prosecutions.
They got that tunnel vision.
Yes. And like they will mold evidence to fit the crime and to fit their story. But the problem is that's been done so poorly so many times that people are on to that approach. And I mean, even going back to 2008, and I think she was tried in 2011, 2012, DNA evidence wasn't as advanced as it is now. And I think that there's a lot. I think with all of the circumstantial evidence, though, and just her lack of character, being able to be proven wrong on so many things, it's still shocking to me that they couldn't see through the facade.
This has a lot of good information in it. The thing about Wiki, you gotta be careful because anybody can go on there and just... You kind of have to vet a lot of things on it. But for the purpose of this, it has a pretty good breakdown of the sequence of events. And that's why that's going to it. This sequence of events. We'll get into it, but... What was his name? That video you sent me.
The guy that found the body?
No, the affidavit the two affidavits that were...
Yeah, that was based off of the guy that... Oh, crap.
What the heck was that guy's name?
Literally just talked about this right before he got here.
We did.
But yeah, going back to the whole investigation, the guy that found the remains called 4 times before police actually found the remains.
Yeah, because they lied about going back out and looking for them. Like,
and he was at least gave them a hard time for wasting their time.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of fishy.
Oh, I don't disagree. But I think that was just laziness on law enforcement's end. And unfortunately, that happens more often than not in cases like this.
And if they would have found the remains the first time, what other evidence would have still been there?
Absolutely. I agree with that. I'm not saying that it was a rock solid case. I think, though, that the circumstantial evidence at play should have been enough to convict.
I mean, I feel like if the prosecution would have done their jobs properly, we would not be having this episode because she would have been either behind bars or dead at some point.
Right.
I have a problem. She told the police 4 different stories.
Yeah.
And so that right there tells me that's something.
Well,
and what...
Have at it.
What kind of person doesn't see their child for 30 days?
31 days.
But doesn't... Well, that's not... Well, I haven't seen my 2.5-year-old in 30 days. I have no idea where she's at. What the fuck?
30 minutes if I didn't know where my kid was, I'd be freaking out. Yeah. Like, why are you waiting an entire month? You busy or something?
A few years ago, we had a little accident. My daughter didn't show up from school. It was minutes. She's always home at a certain time. 2 minutes later, my wife texted me, "Hey, she's not here. We don't know where she's at." Turned out she went to a friend's house from the bus stop. So not a big deal, but like it was immediate. Like
panic.
Yeah. You
feel that like just dread in your system, right? Yeah. And I can't imagine. But I'm gonna go on a little bit of a soapbox here for a second because sources have said that when Casey got pregnant, she wanted to give Kaylee up for adoption. And her mom was like, "No, absolutely not. You need to be responsible. You need to keep her." And I think that just it makes me wonder if this would have ever been a thing had she actually given her daughter up for adoption like she wanted to.
Where's the father in this?
They haven't actually confirmed who the father was.
Oh, okay.
Because she was dating like 3 or 4 different guys, I think, at the time.
And let's face it, at this point, who's going to want to admit that they had sex with Casey Anthony?
You're not wrong there.
But I also think the mother wasn't looked at closely enough, Cindy Anthony, because I think that she lied for Casey.
Well, so both the parents said something, but they both said that when the car was found, so the police found Casey's abandoned car. When George went to get it, he originally said that it smelled like death, and so did the mother. Both said that. Then they retracted those statements in trial.
Right. Casey also said that to a friend on the phone.
Yeah.
It smells like something died in my car.
Well, and they found hair
that belonged to Kaylee
in the trunk as well.
Yep.
Doesn't.
Which, like, the science on that was actually kind of fascinating, though, that they were able to tell, because they claimed that it was inconclusive, that it could have been either Cindy, Casey, or Kaylee's hair, but that it was from a deceased person.
The other two weren't deceased. So
I think
logic dictates.
But how do you determine that? The science on it is just
I actually
impressive.
read something about that actually.
And I'm sure at some point during this episode we're going to get into the pathological stream of lies that this woman told.
Yeah, chlorophyll versus chloroform.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's a big difference there.
There's a big difference. It's like if you want your kid to look like a plant, give them chlorophyll.
Photosynthesis.
Overdose. You made me lose my train of thought.
I'm so sorry. How do you let that one slide, though? You can't.
So, another issue that they could never confirm the cause of death because of the state of the remains.
Right, because she was already so far into the decomp process that they were never able to see the injuries that could have caused the death.
There were obviously no injuries to the bones, so there was no blunt force trauma.
Right.
So that the defense's idea of an accidental could potentially make sense. But even if the child accidentally drowned, why not call the authorities? Do something to save this child.
Yeah.
If that's actually what happened.
Well, and then you're not facing charges and tons of hatred from all of America and maybe Canada. Whoever could see this case was riveted by it. I mean, it's similar to the Jodi Arias case.
And that's another issue I have with the case was so covered by the media. Had to bring jurors in from a whole another part of the state because they've been covered so much, which is a good thing. I agree with that, but can skew an investigation.
The media has a way of kind of reversing that ideology of innocent until proven guilty. When you are under the lens of the media, it is you are guilty until proven innocent.
And I think the prosecution kind of took advantage of that a little bit, and they thought they had it
had it in the bag. I said, and it's really sad because had they waited for these affidavits to come out, they would have had solid evidence showing her guilt in order, it would have just been one more thing to sway the jury.
Yeah. And
now she's been acquitted. She can never be retried for this crime. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Even if she came out tomorrow and said, yes, I did that.
I mean, look at O.J. Simpson, who wrote a book, If I Did It.
I love, by the way, that O.J. Simpson was, caught for stealing Hall of Fame stuff. That's the thing he got caught for.
That's the thing he got in trouble for.
Not the murder, just stealing some Hall of Fame football stuff.
I think that is another episode because there's some really interesting conspiracy theories around the O.J. Simpson case.
So, FBI hair analyst Sebastian Shaw. Hair discovered in Casey's trunk belonged to Kaylee and displayed root banding. Shaw said that a study he had been running and expedited for the trial so far shown that banding only occurred post-mortem.
Fascinating. It really is.
I mean, these are scientific studies that these people have had to have done over the courses of many, many years. You're not going to throw like a rookie in there to try and do this. And like just the forensics is just fascinating.
That's it. Like on this case, because again, the level of decomposition that they found the body in, you lose so much physical evidence in that moment whenever you don't have that evidence. Well, like you're missing a lot of things in this case too, where like you look at a lot of, I'm going to circle back to Jodi Arias for a second. Blood spatter evidence. You don't have any kind of splatter to be able to show patterns of forced trauma or, any of that. You literally have a body that is pretty much skeletal remains at this point and some duct tape.
Wedge duct tape.
Although I do find it fascinating that you mentioned that there were no broken bones, but one of her Google searches were broken neck. So it makes, I don't know.
If they could have proven the manner of which the child died, things would have been different. But since, it was just pretty much skeletal remains, so you can't see if there was ligature marks around the neck. You can't see anything. You can't test. You can't test for contents of the stomach. You can't see if there's water in the lungs. All that that stuff.
Because they're gone at that point.
Yeah.
Which, like, if her lungs were still there, had they found the body the first time dude called, they would have had all of that evidence at play. Not all law enforcement is bad, right? Like, I think they get a lot of the shitstorm that comes because of things like this.
Because of the media, again, today. Get a lot. You see the bad, you don't see the good.
Yeah, you don't see the, like...
You don't see the everyday good stuff they do.
Yeah, the ones that deserve, like, the gold stars.
Yeah.
I feel like we brought that up last episode about how the media just throws negative after negative after negative at you, especially the local news.
We can go on this tangent real quick.
Oh.
So, it is my opinion that the state-run media in this country is just a propaganda machine for the government. They push... Now, I know you guys I pretty much agree with this, but like they push stories that are given to them by the state. They will continually push that to keep us divided. Well, that's a story for another day.
Politics doesn't work. Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt. Circling back to the Casey Anthony case.
If you don't already know, we go off on tangents quite a bit, but we always circle back.
Again, I do think that her lack of character or poor character didn't play enough of a role in this case as it should have.
I think if she would have testified, there was
her attorney was smart though.
So the prosecution called 59 witnesses from 70 different testimonies. It's called 47 witnesses. 63 different testimonies. There's a lot of testimonies there.
Yeah.
But I think the one that really mattered didn't happen.
Why didn't they?
I'm sure her attorney told her advised her against it.
But like, if you were the one on trial, why do you get out of it? Maybe that's something.
Because you have, within like the legal system in the United States of America, you have the right to not implicate yourself. So if she lies on the stand and perjures herself, if her attorney can advise her against getting on the stand at all, she then isn't lying on the stand and not committing a felony.
Like that's perjury is a felony. That's so annoying. It's like, in my opinion, I know this is probably not how it works, but if you were the one on trial, you should have to be required to speak, unless, of course, you are unable to speak at the trial which you're being convicted, to be like, no, I didn't do this.
I just wanted to confirm that perjury is a felony.
I'm just saying.
I had to double check.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was too, but I'm just our legal system is so there's a lot of systems broken in this country. The legal system being one of the biggest. I feel like you were going to go on a tangent, another tangent about broken systems. That's your cue, really.
I mean, okay, yeah, absolutely, because we get super divided over things that we act like there are only two choices when realistically there are tons of choices, and we just don't ever see them as viable options. And I mean, I'm a huge advocate of adoption and the whole process to get there, and let me tell you, it is fucked. It is totally fucked. And I get so bent out of shape and angry about it because you have kids that just want good homes and had shit biological parents, and yet we're sitting here arguing about pro-choice or pro-life whenever there are kids sitting in group homes forgotten about. It's not okay.
Not to be crass, but you can almost compare it to in puppy mills. Honestly.
Unfortunately, we've kind of had that discussion a little bit too, because you have to remove an element of emotion when going through the adoption process, which is hard because you're looking at children. You are talking about living, breathing children, and it's difficult. But that doesn't negate the fact that the system is very, very broken, and that private agencies are paying their caseworkers pennies on the dollar when the foundation runners are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Explain to me how that's acceptable. You're burning out your staff. They're not able to do the work that they need to do to make sure that these kids get into good homes. And yet you're sitting and making $100,000 a year doing what exactly? My soapbox for the day.
And going back to your point, like linking that together with the Casey Anthony case, if Casey would have given up Kaylee for adoption, like you brought up, and the mother hadn't interfered, this wouldn't be an episode. Because nobody would know who Casey Anthony was, which would probably be for everybody's benefit, because she is a massive piece of shit.
Yeah, she probably would have lied about something else, allegedly. But I feel like that's a whole nother argument for another day. Like, I do. It's so convoluted and so broken, like so many systems in the U.S., that it just, to think that it could be fixed is almost like a fairy tale most days, I think.
So going back to the beginning of the trial, I was skimming it, and something struck me as interesting. So the trial began on May 24, 2011. Opening statements, lead prosecutor Burdick, hope I said that right, described the story of Kaylee's disappearance day by day. Prosecutor stated that Casey used chloroform to incapacitate Kaylee before suffocating her with duct tape, leaving the body in the trunk of the car before disposing of it. Now, the evidence really does support that.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that's the first part.
All of the circumstantial evidence that they were able to present.
It really supports that. So the defense said that Anthony had likely accidentally drowned in the family's pool on June 16, 2008, and that George, the grandfather, had, with Casey's knowledge, covered up the drowning in order to spare his daughter a potential child neglect charge. Now, this is what I find interesting. Where did that idea come from?
That it was cooked up between Casey and her attorney.
Or is that really what happened? Because Casey told her attorney, they have privilege, they're not going to rat her out, the truth of what happened.
I'm not saying it's not a possibility, right? But I do think...
Why do they latch onto this idea so hard?
You have to have a solid defense. You have to come up with a story. That is part of being a defense attorney. Whether the person is guilty or innocent, you are portraying them as innocent.
But in that, they wouldn't have been innocent. They still would have had more severe charges than she turned out with.
Possibly. Because it depends on how they really spin that story.
Well,
and like whenever you get through, I don't know if it was during the trial or post-trial when she made up I don't want to say made up, where the allegations were made against her father that he had been assaulting her for years and then assaulting Kaylee, and that, ultimately because of that assault is why she died. Where did that story come from? And what was the purpose of it?
Going on with the opening statements, the defense further said that Casey's seemingly unaffected behavior after Kaylee's death was attributed to child abuse she had allegedly suffered at the hands of her father and brother. Finally, the defense stated that the police investigation had been compromised by the media frenzy, which we kind of covered already. So there was already that layer of potential abuse from her family.
Yeah.
They were trying to seed in there.
I'm just going to say this because any normal person listening to this show can agree with this. Why the fuck is it okay in these people's minds to beat a kid who can't defend themselves? I don't understand why they're like, oh, we're frustrated, we're angry, whatever the case may be. There are so many different ways to like release anger, like yell, punch a pillow, go eat, go get laid. I don't know. But like, why the fuck is beating the kid at the top of the list for some people?
So
I don't understand, because this is a consistent thing in this country. A lot of people do it. I don't know why.
I don't know if they still do it, but when both my kids were born, sit you down and like give you essentially a class on shaken baby syndrome and because being a new parent, it's incredibly frustrating. You're learning as you go. Now, don't take this as me defending people, because I'm fucking not. All right? Don't come after me for this.
Don't shake babies.
What I'm saying, exactly, don't shake babies. It's not okay. What I'm saying is, some people, this is why I think you should have to take a test even before you have a kid, don't have the mental capacity to understand that it's okay to put the child in the crib, let them cry for 20 minutes, as long as they're not diapers full of shit or whatever, walk away, back to the situation. That's what you need to do if you get frustrated with a child. You need to walk away, take a time out, both of you, take a time out, calm down, and then revisit when you're both calm, or with a baby until you can handle.
Right. It's really interesting because, like, locally, we had a case relatively similar.
Yeah, we did.
Very recently. Yeah. And, like, I don't know if Greg told you that I had to actually sit in for the jury pool on that.
Really?
Yeah. Thank God I didn't get chosen, because, like, I'm literally sitting there going, shit, I would be a really good choice for this jury. Thank God my number did not get called, because I would not have loved to do that. I would have done it out of obligation, of course, but...
So what I find, not to cut you off or anything,
You're good. I'm going to circle back to it.
You talk about jury things remind me of, there was more women on this jury than men. It was like 11-9 or something. And a study found that majority of women that took the study thought she was guilty. Men not. Just because of the motherhood aspect. Women couldn't understand how a mother would do this to their child.
I'm concerned about the men.
I can find the things
again.
Because I don't remember exactly that. I find it hard, which really tells me that the prosecution didn't do their job, because the women on this jury, they couldn't, because there wasn't enough proof.
Well, and the thing of it is like, none of us were in that courtroom. Like, of course we saw clips, and I mean, it was at the height of the Nancy Grace coverage of court trials and, all of those things. But again, you're right. It was all circumstantial evidence. There was very little physical evidence actually found. And I could see to an extent how it could have been debated.
Yeah.
But I think that her attorney was phenomenal. Not morally, but I think that he did a fantastic job defending her.
He did his job.
Yeah, and then some.
Yeah. So here's those numbers. According to a USA Today Gallup poll of just over 1,000 respondents, 2/3 of Americans, 60%, believe Casey or probably murdered her daughter. However, women were much more likely than men to believe the murder charges against Casey and to be upset with the not guilty verdict. The poll reported that women were more than twice as likely as men, 28% versus 11%, to think Casey definitely committed the murder.
That's a shocking difference.
Yeah, it's over double.
Although 28% seems
low
also.
But there was only 1,000 people, old. But here's the thing about, not to sound crass, because this is just my opinion, fact. Women think much more emotionally.
I think they're
more emotionally intelligent,
yes,
for lack of a better word here. Men or think more rationally, rational brain,
more logical.
Yeah, so numbers kind of make sense.
Yeah, I would have expected it to be closer to 50 and maybe 30 or 25%, not 28 and 11.
And 27% of women that took the poll said they were angry about the verdict.
That's concerning too.
Well, I also think that women have more of I don't want to call it tendency. Let's call it a tendency to follow true crime, to listen to it, to actually actively engage with podcasts or, court coverage or articles about the cases, because emotionally, I think a lot of women relate to that in the sense of, these horrible things are happening in the world. How do I avoid them? What makes someone tick? Why would they do that? It is that emotional connection of why, the how, the who, what, where, when, and why of things, and wanting to understand the depravity of people. But I think that's the part of it, right? Is if you are actively listening to true crime, if you are actively engaged in those things, you obviously will never understand it, because there's no way you can understand what makes someone break to that level.
I have an opinion on why men were less likely to believe in Casey Anthony's verdict, and again, it's a very crass thought. They
thought she was hot.
They thought she was hot.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there was men at the courthouse that had signs asking her to marry him, saying that we believe you. You're not far off there.
That is both sides of the fence, though. Yeah. Look at the Chris Watts case. He annihilated his entire family, his pregnant wife, and 2 small daughters. And I don't have to say allegedly, because he was found guilty. He's sitting in jail over it. And he gets fan mail, actively gets fan mail about how much women love him.
I mean, in recent years, let's think of Luigi Mangione. He's somebody who women are fawning over. And he murdered a healthcare CEO, which
allegedly.
His
trial hasn't happened yet.
Another story for another day.
That's another podcast. So.
that might be a post-trial episode.
Yeah.
But it's wild to me how you can see these clearly, or at least allegedly, evil people, and flock to them so easily just because of how they look.
Let's say morally bankrupt.
That's fair. Probably a better term.
Because whether or not they're guilty of whatever crime they're being tried for, they may not have the best judgment, and they may kind of just be shit people. Because that's circling back to Casey Anthony. Let's just start talking about the lies this girl has made.
How much time do we got?
I mean, even before she was pregnant, she was lying about things. Her parents were getting ready to go to her graduation and found out she wasn't graduating. She lied about her senior year and graduating from high school.
What's the point in that?
At what point do you go, hey, maybe this is the best idea, I'm gonna get caught?
Well, in my head, in my mind, people lie for a couple of different reasons. To make themselves look better, or for benefit.
Let me tell you.
What was the benefit out of that?
Let me tell you, the recurring dream of not graduating high school is one I still have to this day, and it drives me insane.
Good thing you're a college graduate.
I am a college graduate. It makes 0 sense. I need a dream interpreter to tell me what that means and why it keeps happening.
How about someone just leave it in the comments?
If you know what that means, send an email to stateofjags@gmail.com.
You beat me to it.
I love it.
Like the first episode where we do like a lengthy mailbag will be definitely interesting.
I cannot wait to get emails and comments.
Hate mail.
I can't wait for it.
I
the
bet
hate,
you're excited by
the
that
hate
one.
mail will be
Like-
fun.
I look forward to hate mail. That means we're doing something right. You're pissing people off. You know what I mean? Like, if I piss you off, I don't give a shit. I don't know you. Fuck you. You know, but like, you're welcome to your opinion. That's what's great about this country. Everybody can have an opinion.
I mean, we've got quite the fatal four-way here with Elon, with Kanye, with Andrew Tate, and Casey Anthony as the first 4 episodes of this podcast.
We really went all in.
There are
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot
we
of
did.
shit people, though. You could have thousands of episodes.
Oh yeah, but we wanted to go horde for the first 4 episodes.
Go horde.
Go horde.
Anyways, so circling back to the lies, I think even though it's all circumstantial evidence, it was all found to be credible that her lies were proven to be just that, time after time after time after time. I can't understand how that wasn't held in a heavier opinion.
Well, I mean, she was found guilty on 4 counts of,
Lying to authorities.
yeah, which got reduced to 2 after appeal. But
Which is crazy.
so
to
it,
me.
I understand why they did it. I mean, I don't like
Well,
it, but
she
I
got-
get it.
There were 7 charges originally on lying to authorities, and she was only found guilty of 4 of them.
And after
And then
appeal,
after the appeal, 2.
2, yeah.
So I'm curious. I didn't do a whole lot of research on that side of like the breakdown of what those charges were.
We haven't even gotten to all the Zanny stuff. We'll definitely get into that in just a bit.
Well, yeah.
So Casey appealed her convictions, arguing that the false statements she provided to officers constituted one offense, and that the statements were inadmissible because she had not been given a Miranda warning. Prosecution said that each statement constituted a separate offense, and that Casey was not detained at the time she made any of these statements, which means she would not required to have a Miranda warning.
Right, because if you're not being detained by officers, you don't have to have your Miranda rights read. That is why people, whenever police officers ask,
Shut the fuck up.
don't say anything without an attorney immediately, whether you are innocent or guilty.
Yeah.
I want an attorney.
Now, this is saying, not all police officers are bad.
No, but it is
But-
easy to misspeak. It is very easy to be caught up in the emotions and the anxiety of whatever you're going through and say something wrong that you didn't necessarily mean, and then, oh shit.
And unfortunately, the police officers, they see the worst of humanity, the absolute worst.
Constantly. That's
So,
what they do for a living.
Go in to these situations, maybe they have a bias because of a prior situation they've been in, and it's hard to blame them for that.
Yeah.
Like, so in my profession, I'm not a police officer, I'm not law enforcement, but in certain situations, okay, it makes sense that I've already figured this person out to be evil, even though they're not.
Right. Well, and it's very easy whenever you're constantly going through similar parallel situations.
Exactly, yeah.
That you can make snap decisions
Yeah.
and snap judgments on people whenever they could just be really having a horrible day and be really stupid.
And it's especially hard, like, you've never met this person, or anything about them. They could have a mental illness that you don't know anything about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, I just saw a video the other day. This man, obviously a high functioning person, but the officers didn't know that, and they took his silence as
Non-compliance.
resisting arrest. So, like, unfortunate. But I understand.
It frustrates me in so many ways, not just in this one, not just in the story that you just told, but people, I feel like, don't try to understand other people. They don't give them, and like through the job hunt that I've been doing, I feel like that's a perfect example, because you are judged on a sheet of paper, not your personality, not your actual like work history, nothing. It's like, if you don't meet these certain requirements, We don't want you. Nobody wants to take a chance. Nobody wants to give people a chance anymore. It's black and white, this or that. Politics is too. It's either this or that. There's no middle ground, and it frustrates the shit out of me.
It's also based on their understanding of things.
Right, which it's not everybody's understanding of a situation is the same, and we need to understand. Like, that's something that the entire world needs to understand, and this is something that I've understood. It took me a long time to do, but once I understood that not everybody thinks the same way that I do, my perspectives were like instantly like expanded widely.
For example, we have, you guys and me, very different political beliefs, but religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Very opposite ends of the spectrum. But we are still incredibly good friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still have tremendous respect for you two.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think if that could expand throughout the country, the world, things would be a lot better around here.
So much better.
I mean, there has to be some kind of common ground, because there is between us, obviously.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to respect that person, the other person's decision to believe that they believe what they believe.
Right.
You might not agree with it, but it doesn't matter.
Well, and I think that getting past that whole arrogancy of like, I'm right, you're wrong, we
Right.
can't agree to disagree, like, I think that's also why politically our nation is where it is, because we are so deeply devoted to false beliefs. Like, it's crazy to me the shit that people get angry about.
Not just that, but the shit that people hold on to like their life depends on it. When they're like walking on a very flimsy bridge.
Yeah. Call me a wishful thinker. I truly believe everybody wants the same thing. They want freedom, they want to prosper, and they want to be left alone. You know, but from the government. They don't want the government intruding on their lives. I firmly believe that. We just have different ideas of how to get there.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
But the end result most everybody wants is the same.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
We just can't agree on how to get to that point.
No, and that's the problem. Like, nobody wants to compromise. It's like,
Yeah.
I know how to do it. I know how to do it. Okay, well then go ahead and do it. And when you fail, then you realize that one way that you're thinking isn't 100% correct.
And when you fail, be able to take that constructive criticism and be able to say, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But
Or I need help.
there's so much pride in this country, and I'm not just talking like the LGBT stuff. There's just so much I know better than you pride in this country.
A lot of ego.
Yeah.
The egos are out of control, and nobody wants to look inside themselves, whether they're a religious person or not. They don't want to look at themselves and say, maybe there's a chance that I don't know everything.
Well, we had a discussion about this recently, and like, obviously we're all products of like the 90s, right? Like, we grew up in the 90s, back in the day when shit was cool. Like, let's be real.
My daughter won't say that.
Tamagotchis were cool. Game Boys were cool. Freaking
Jinko jeans, man.
dude, my non-skip CD player that skipped constantly. Let's even, like, come on. But
Did you know our lives are now in a museum?
yo, yeah.
PlayStation
Dude.
1s, Walkmans, Tamagotchi. I was
There's
so
enough
upset.
For Tamagotchi. I'm just okay.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
It's the second time this week we've used a not a sponsor thing on my shows.
But I don't think that shit started to really deteriorate until we were all in high school and the birth of social media came
Absolutely.
around. Because people get real brave on Facebook and I think even MySpace, let's be real, come on. MySpace is the shit.
Hey, if you weren't my top 8, we've got throw hands.
I had to explain the top 8 to my daughter the other day.
Oh no.
I think we've been friends long enough that you were in my top 8
Yeah,
at one point.
absolutely.
Yeah, because like it was right at the like demise of MySpace that we
Yeah,
all became
yeah.
friends. Because we kind of knew each other in high school a little bit, but like in passing. But it's wild the shit that keyboard warriors will say. And like There, just an example. I have not talked to someone in 6 or 8 months, and she posted on Facebook about me and one of my other best friends that were bitches for real.
Oh my gosh.
Now, one, I'm not friends with you on Facebook, so I'm not gonna see this shit. I found out about it in other ways. 2, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, grow up.
Bitches for real.
Let me tell you,
I love it.
you're not on Twitter, which is very good. Jen's not on Twitter very much, which I think is good. I'm on Twitter because I'm an idiot. And
Twittagra.
but like the shit that I see on that site,
X is a cesspool.
it is the dumbest, and like some of it is just completely like vulgar, and like you would never say this to a person. And people, I feel like people just do things to get attention.
So,
Bullying is real.
again, not to sound crass, but there are certain circumstances where I think you should be able to punch someone in the mouth.
Oh yeah.
Not enough people have been punched in the mouth for what they said.
Oh yeah.
And I think if more people were smacked in the mouth for what they say, wouldn't have that problem.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. That's why social media is the devil. Because let's be honest, you can't punch someone over the screen.
Trust me, there are people on Twitter that I would love to punch in the mouth. Like line them up.
Now, I'm not condoning violence in any way, shape, or form here, but I
none
mean,
of us are condoning violence. Don't
but, I
just
mean-
go punch people. But
I'm just saying.
in
I'd
our
like-
day and age,
I'd say I'd like to. I didn't say I'm going to. Let's put that on the record.
of course, that opens up a whole different scary thing, you know, like what UK's doing. You post something on social media that someone finds offensive or cause public alarm, they're coming to arrest you.
oh, social credit scores are terrifying,
That's
dude.
happening, and that's terrifying.
That is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's government
because
overreach hardcore.
other countries implementing the whole social credit score thing is terrifying. Literally terrifying.
I still think that all social media should be verified accounts. You should have to put your face on it. Like if you were
Yeah.
brave enough to say it, you should have to own it
Yeah, absolutely.
with your face.
Go name and face.
Yep, no anonymous bullshit. I also think though, like social media as in like LinkedIn, I think they should have to vet job postings. Because the number of scam fucking posts on LinkedIn that we've been through in the last 6 months makes me want to set my house on fire. I won't. I wouldn't. But like
You've
it
done
makes
too much work to the house to set it on.
Yeah, no, I'm not that crazy. But it definitely is infuriating. Like, how is that acceptable for people that are already going through such a dehumanizing process of job hunting in general?
That these people want to steal from the people who don't have any money.
Yeah.
It's a backwards concept, and I feel like people who want to charge for like rewriting resumes, and also people who want to charge for applying to jobs, that's also a scam. It's like, if I don't have a job, I don't have the money to pay you for these services.
Yup.
And if I do have a job, I don't need to pay you money because I have a job.
So I had to, for my current job, pay a little bit to get certain certifications.
Which is understandable.
So what I had to pay for was my fingerprinting and background process.
Oh.
They paid for everything else. So like something like that I can understand, but to have an application fee, not a fucking college.
Yeah.
Yep. Application fees and recruiter services.
Yeah,
Which
bullshit.
recruiter services don't even guarantee you a job.
Yeah.
Nope.
How did we get here?
This is what we do.
Yes,
If you haven't
This is
listened to the
every
podcast
episode.
here, this is what we do. We start on something and we go down a rabbit hole and we go back to it, you know?
If you hate social media, send us an email to stateofjags@gmail.com and let us know what platform you use and why you hate it.
So going back to our topic of the day, Baez, which was the, thank you for saying that.
Gotcha.
While we're happy for Casey, there are no winners in this case. So he noted that our system of justice has not dishonored Kaylee's memory by a false conviction. I don't know about that statement.
I don't agree with that statement, but I also am not in the apparently majority of that poll that thinks that she's innocent.
So in my opinion, our justice system has dishonored her memory. They haven't figured out anything.
100%. It's still unsolved.
Yeah.
And here's the thing of it is, again, we were talking about the affidavits that came out.
Yeah.
that the defense attorney talked to a private investigator and stated that Casey is guilty, and they were trying to frame the person that found her remains as who killed her. One, let's just destroy more lives in the process here. And two, that information can never go to trial against Casey because she's already been acquitted. It's double jeopardy.
No, not for the same charge.
So they would have to find other charges in conjunction with this case in order to be able to use that evidence against her.
Now, could they try her on like a similar charge that isn't the same thing for this?
She cannot be charged again for murder.
Yeah, she can't. Essentially, anything that was conducted in the case that has already happened, the one that she had the acquittal from, they can't retry her for that. And like, I can't imagine.
I don't know what other charges they could do because they pretty much covered the gambit.
Well, yeah, because they.
Try her for murder again. You can't try her for child endangerment and neglect.
Right, because I don't think they could even charge her for a lesser murder charge because she was already acquitted on the evidence that was at play.
But they couldn't do like manslaughter or something.
Murder is their is its own. It's above a felony. Right?
Yes.
So, but there's different degrees of it, but that all falls under.
Well, the different degrees essentially just discuss whether or not it's premeditated or not.
Yeah.
So, like, I believe second degree murder is where it's more of an accident, but someone still dies because of it.
Okay, so I have to bring up a funny story just because of your Google searching. So last episode we talked about Andrew Tate. And with all the stuff that you were searching, I was like, oh, that's going to come up in your Facebook stuff.
Dude, oh my God. As soon as I got home, opened up my face page, the first ad I saw, Andrew Tate, his bullshit store, trying to sell me a damn necklace for $10,000. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Gross.
I mean, it wasn't, his sunglasses were that much. His necklace was more.
The sunglasses were $20,000.
Yeah. I was like, what? I knew that was going to happen. So, like, it happened for an hour, and every single ad I saw, I had to, like, hide it and didn't want to see this ad, and it finally stopped.
I was right. But third degree is what is unintentional killings due to recklessness or negligence. Which realistically, that's what they could have tried her on had her story been true about the drowning and the cover-up.
I think if they would have charged her with that...
She wouldn't have been serving life in prison for that, though. I don't think...
No, she probably wouldn't have, but...
You don't really
I think
hear a whole lot about third-degree murder charges.
Well, it's manslaughter, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, I think the jury would have found it easier to convict her on that charge instead of first or second degree. Because they even stated, well, jurors came out.
Is there a list of all of her charges?
Yeah.
So had they tried for second degree murder versus first, I think there probably would have been...
Even the jurors that did give interviews said that they didn't prove first or second degree them.
See, that's surprising to me.
They discussed that.
Because second degree shows intent, but it's not as strong as first degree. So, like, the Google searches around chloroform and neck breaking could have shown intent.
If they would have found a neck break in the bones, yes.
Right. Not necessarily, though. Because, apparently... Where did I learn this? What case was I was just recently...
You listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, so I'm guessing it'd be one of those.
I feel like it probably was. Shout out to Grim. But there was one that I was listening to recently that they were talking about someone who was strangled aggressively. And that there's a bone in the neck that's incredibly hard to break due to strangulation, but it can break. So, like, depending on if she was strangled, which we'll never know the answer to, if she was strangled, there's a possibility that she could have heard something pop and it wasn't actually a bone breaking.
Or she felt something pop or, yeah, okay.
Allegedly. We don't know. But, like, it's...
And that's what bothers me most about this.
You'll never have answers.
There's no answers. This poor child died.
That's not unlike the Jean-Benet Ramsey case when we were kids. That's a whole nother tangent for a whole nother night.
So congratulations, Casey Anthony. Dumb bitch. You are our Jag of the week. I swear, if we
never
find...
got into Zanny the Nanny.
Oh, we can still get into it. Like, just because we've named her Jag of the
Yeah, I
week,
kinda forgot
we
about
still talk. I'm hoping that she doesn't have merch on sale.
Oh, we're gonna find out.
Well, isn't that what Substack does, though? She can earn money through that.
I think... Is that the blog posting site? Like...
I don't know. I don't know anything about
I've
it.
never used Substack.
Oh,
Are
No, so
you
this is
kidding?
not her. This
that's
is other
not her,
people.
but-
it's
This is
inspired.
other
merch.
people.
Oh, that one's fucked.
It makes me wonder, though, like, if people trust no bitch. Okay, that one's kind of funny.
So she doesn't have her own merch store, which is a positive because I don't know who would.
Apparently, the 10,000 plus people that follow her on TikTok.
Yeah.
Or used to.
Yeah, used to. Now that she's off the platform anymore. I thought, I'm pretty sure, like, she shut down her TikTok account because people were like,
Chris is investigating.
people were just harassing her with all the, like, I wanted to say quote tweets, but that's Twitter. Like, all the reposting of the video and the comments and all that stuff.
Well, a lot of people were reposting on their own personal pages so that the traffic wouldn't go to her page and it wouldn't be monetized.
Yeah.
I think that is her actual TikTok page.
Is that her?
Yep.
Nope, she's gone.
No, it says log into TikTok.
Yeah, pull that phone Johns out and see.
Nope, she's still fucking there.
How many followers is she up to?
80,000.
No, but see, it's my opinion that people are just there for the shit show.
I don't know. There are some people that are actually like,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there
she's
are.
great. Why should we hate her?
I'm sure there are. But,
Bing Pot, what are you doing?
the Bing Pot, Bing is their dog. So don't think that she's calling one of us Bing Pot. Which would be pretty funny,
Sorry, guys.
And Bing Pot is a reference to the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so if you know, you know.
though. I call him Bing-a-ling in reference to Friends.
We do that too. He has like 17 nicknames. It's fine.
Yeah, all of which are longer than his actual name.
Right, yeah. No, I did find it.
If you like dogs, send an email to stateofjags@gmail.com.
I want pictures of dogs.
Yes, send
I
us
love
pictures of
dogs.
dogs. That
We could also do a dog of the week.
we could. Except I don't have a clip of somebody saying dog. I mean, I guess we could use the clip of New Girl from Principal Foster calling just dog.
What's up, dog?
Yeah.
Very few people are going to get any of these
Who
references.
cares? If you don't know what these references are, send an email to stateofjags@gmail.com and we will do our best to explain them to you. I still can't believe 80,000 people follow a TikTok of her. She only has like 2 things up that have millions of views. I feel like I brought this up last episode. People gravitate towards really shitty people.
It's a drama factor. We talked about that last time too.
Yeah.
It's people love drama,
Think about reality shows.
which we covered last
we
episode
did.
because that's how Andrew Tate got famous. He was on a
Andrew
reality
Tate
show.
was Big Brother
Yeah.
in the UK. So yeah, it all ties together.
So Zanny the Nanny. Guys, we
Which
have
was
to
one
talk
of
about this.
her lies, by the
We
way.
have to talk about this. Okay. Because there's actually another theory, which I'm not sure is on the wiki page or not. But I was listening to some sort of commentary about this, and they were discussing that Zanny the Nanny was actually her drugging her daughter.
Ooh.
Using Xanax to drug her daughter, put her to sleep so that she could go do whatever she wanted. That was a theory. But then she actually pulled somebody into this who she took the information off of a contact card for an apartment building that her and this lady went to see at the same time, and was like, oh yeah, this lady's my nanny. And the lady's like, I don't know you. I met you once.
Well, that goes back to that was one of her lies because she never employed
No,
her as a nanny. That was proven to be
false.
for yeah.
Like I said, that one is crazy, though.
The amount of effort that she put into making herself try to look as good as possible.
Well, I mean, let's go through her lies real quick. The four that she was found guilty of. First one, that she worked at Universal Studios. At the time, she did not.
Which, she did work there,
Yeah,
but not at the time
not at
of
the time.
this.
She employed Fernandez Gonzalez as a nanny. Did not.
Nope.
Had told 2 Universal Studios co-workers that Anthony had disappeared, her daughter.
She wasn't there in the first place.
She told nobody.
Yeah. And had spoken by phone with Kaylee after Kaylee went missing. That one really, really grinds my gears.
And that's what I'm saying, too, is like, okay, if an accident occurred and your daughter died due to neglect, which would be typical for the things that she was doing while her daughter was missing, why play the game and the charade that she's still alive? Like, what? I don't understand how someone can be on the phone with 911 and be so calm about your child missing for 30 plus days. Like that.
Which that tells me, this is my opinion, it tells me she knew she was dead. Family knew she was dead.
I don't know if the grandmother knew.
Possibly not.
Because
she made the initial
she
call.
seemed far more emotionally invested, maybe. And she actually was actively making calls to Casey. Where is my granddaughter? Why haven't we seen her? What is going on? And there's proof of those phone calls and conversations happening. I do think that after the phone call to 911, something happened, though, that she then started defending Casey.
She backtracked a little bit, especially when she was testifying on the trial.
Yeah.
So the jury deliberated for 10 hours after coming to a 10-2 decision that she wasn't guilty on anything except the lying charges. And then after 10 hours, they were like, nah, she didn't do it.
In 2021, one juror said he regretted his decision to fully acquit Casey of homicide and abuse and said that, in retrospect, he would have at least voted to convict her of aggravated manslaughter of a child. Aggravated child abuse. He said that his vote to acquit her on the most serious charges, I don't know what the hell I was doing.
Clearly, you weren't the only one, allegedly.
Well, and that does make you wonder. Like, I've heard multiple jurors come out and say that, like, they fucked up. They dropped the ball. And I feel like it was this case where they were talking about not knowing that they could discuss different charges, like being brought against her instead of first-degree murder.
So they held the jurors' names because they were scared that they were...
That's probably smart.
So they did it for several months because they were concerned that some people would, go after him. They released the jurors' names on October 25th, 2011. Only one alternate juror, Russell, I can't pronounce your last name, man, I'm sorry, stepped forward the day of the verdict saying the prosecution didn't provide the evidence that was there for any of the charges from first-degree murder down to second-degree murder, the child abuse, to even the manslaughter charge. So in the jury's opinion, they covered all those, but they didn't see the evidence.
That's just baffling to me. Also, I mean...
Can't prove what the crime was. So one juror, if you cannot prove what the crime was, you cannot determine what the punishment should be. That goes back to prove cause of death.
There's something that one of my favorite true crime podcasts talk about all the time, and it's no body, no crime. Which essentially, even though we had a body, we didn't have evidence on that body. And even the duct tape over the mouth there wasn't enough there to actually provide it.
There was no fingerprints, there was no DNA on it.
Well, there was, I think from what I understand on the duct tape, Kaylee, Casey, and Cindy all had DNA on that.
Oh.
But it could have just been in the family home. You have no idea.
Exactly. And I'm sure that's the argument they made with the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in the car constantly. There's stuff in the car from the house. You're going to have hair in the trunk.
Right. But the banding side of that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if, since this case has happened, if that has been used in other cases.
Let's do a quick Google search here. They also have a cat, and he just sneezed on me.
So this is why you guys leave. Or in other places.
He's trying to get up on my lap, and I'm leaning forward so he can't. Come on. Up here. Got things to do, Cud. Come on. Don't claw me. Don't claw me. I'll help you. Ow, ow, you have a hold of me. Ow!
Are you leaving this in?
I don't know yet.
He has a hold of my... Ow, God dang it. I know you don't mean to, buddy. Oh, okay.
You're right.
He had to hold my crotch with his claws and
Ooh.
Oh.
pulling up on it. No.
Anyway,
Don't get on my computer.
post-mortem root bands.
Has been used in some criminal trials, though its scientific validity. Thank you.
Got you.
And reliability are debated.
So it's
So
not
like most scientific forensic methods, they're all...
Yeah, none of them are foolproof.
Well, it's kind of like the... I believe it was the Jeffrey Dahmer case, the teeth.
Oh, Ted Bundy.
Yeah, Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it makes sense because...
Yeah, absolutely.
there's so many things in the judicial system that I feel like it's very subjective when they actually use it in trial. Because I know, like, lie detector results, those are not admissible in prosecutions, correct?
No.
No, they're not admissible in court, but you want to know what is kind of interesting about those? The majority of police departments, like state police departments, you have to pass a lie detector test, a polygraph, in order to be offered a job. So, like the Pennsylvania State Police. I had a buddy recently that applied. He got through the whole application process up to the lie detector test, the polygraph.
Yeah.
Took the polygraph test. Apparently forgot that he had stolen a candy bar or something like that when he was 8. That's why they failed him. Because he withheld information that he forgot. So, like, that's how serious they are about the polygraph when you apply for like a state police position.
Which is interesting because it's been discredited.
And that's the conversation.
Hundreds of times.
Yeah, we had that conversation. It's not admissible in court, so how can they use it in a application?
But they still use it in interrogation tactics too. And like we were talking earlier about don't talk without a lawyer. Don't take a lie detector test.
Shut the fuck up.
Because an innocent person can fail and then it just makes you look even worse. Fingerprinting has also been proven to be kind of not super consistent.
You know what it is though? Ear identification.
Ear identification?
I swear to God.
What?
I swear.
How many tabs do you have open?
Oh, I don't know.
That kind of explains the thought process of this show, this many tabs open.
Because everybody has a unique ear. There's no two ears alike, apparently.
But they say that about fingerprints. Which, like, I mean, really, fingerprinting is pretty legitimate for the most part. But apparently it has been disproven that every single set of fingerprints is different. And I guess they found an instance of 2 people sharing the same fingerprint pattern. I can't tell you the case. Like, it's, for the life of me, I can't tell you the case. But, like, someone was actually tried on fingerprinting. And...
Well, because you only need a certain amount of match. 6-point match.
Yeah, it's...
To go to trial.
Yep.
So, I mean, it definitely could be a flawed, speaking of flawed processes, kind of goes along. So, a breathalyzer. If the officer trying to maintain cleanliness uses a alcohol-based hand sanitizer before he administers the breathalyzer, it can skew the breathalyzer result just a little bit. But enough.
That's believable, though.
Yeah, just enough to cause, you some trouble, possibly.
Yeah.
Don't drink and drive. That's your best.
I was going to say, moral of that story is just...
don't do that
drink
shit.
and drive.
Yeah.
Because you'll be the next Jag of the week if you drink and drive. I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah.
I could have swore I saw there was a case. They had a guy on camera, still of his ear, and they were able to match the ear and say, yeah, you definitely did it because your ear matches.
That is nuts.
Yeah. Maybe it was a show I watched too. It's
They're
possible.
hand twins.
Oh my God, hand twins.
We'll chop off my hand and give it to you.
Just leave me alone. Oh.
Sorry. You'll get all of the sitcom references from me. It's integrated into my DNA.
That's awesome.
We have anything else to say about this bitch?
Oh, this Kaylee's Law. They made a law. So since the end of the trial, various movements have arisen for the creation of a new law called Kaylee's Law. That would impose stricter requirements on parents to notify law enforcement of a death or a disappearance of a child.
I think that's great.
I don't understand why it's not already a thing, honestly. I think
You would be shocked.
your
though.
child goes missing. That's an instant, hey, my child's missing. Like, I need help.
See, this is going to get me into a rant about politics as a whole. It's like, how many bills do they have to look at, and why does it take them so damn long? Like, this is your job.
What was the one we were talking about recently?
Problem is, that it's not a one subject bill.
We had a random discussion because there are some states that mandate that you report if you win the lottery.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is one of them.
Pennsylvania is one of them.
Really?
But there is a bill on the Senate floor, House floor.
I think it's the House floor. It's been there since like 2023.
But they've tabled it. They haven't done shit with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like having to identify if you win the lottery or not is kind of dangerous for the person winning.
Yeah, I understand.
Depending on the amount.
So you mean that they have to release their name publicly?
Yes.
Okay.
They
should
put
not.
something on their website or something, which granted, not everybody's looking at the lottery website every day, but it's just the fact of the matter that if like that gets around, that could put the person who wins the lottery in some kind of danger, because it's like, oh, well, they have a bunch of money, so let me figure out a way
There's
to get
actually a case, I feel like this was another true crime discussion, because there was a case out of Florida. Abraham Shakespeare, I think.
Okay, can we stop here and just talk about that name? That's a freaking awesome name.
Well, I mean, it was an awesome name. Dude got murdered because he, like, trusted the wrong people after he won the lottery and bitch offed him.
So here's the thing, people. If you win the lottery, get a fucking lawyer. Protect yourself.
And a good tax person. That's necessary.
Taxation is theft.
I don't debate that. I'm just saying.
You're not wrong.
They're still going to tax you.
Yeah, good lawyer and get tax help. I agree. But the family had like a spokesperson. He was only a spokesperson for a month, from October to November. And the reason why he quit was due to the erratic behavior of the family.
It makes sense.
I thought that was an interesting.
Because if the rest of the family is as erratic as Casey was during this time period,
yeah,
I couldn't imagine trying to defend.
Oh, right here it is.
Larry Garrison.
Fortunately, it looks like the audio's working this weekend, so we don't have to talk about Casey Anthony for more than one episode.
We
But
could
we
talk
could.
about
We could
Lori
talk about-
Vallow next time.
We could talk about her for a long time.
I mean, I feel like any of these insane cases we could talk about Lori Vallow, we could talk about Brian Laundrie.
If you have an opinion on who we should talk about next, send an email to stayatjags@gmail.com.
He stole your line.
Hey, listen, I'm. It doesn't matter who delivers the line if
I
people
think
deliver
there
the
needs
emails.
to be a shirt where it just says Chris is crass.
I try not to be, but sometimes it's needed, especially in certain situations where, but I had a situation at work a couple weeks ago. In certain situations, you had to flip a switch and go from 0 to 100, Ricky tick, because that
We
person
like
is
to
violent.
call that the bitch switch.
Well, I'll try to be as vague as possible here.
This
Because,
could also be an off-mic topic, too.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's so we had a guy, family drove him in to the ER. We were trying to talk to him, de-escalate and try to distract him so his daughter can get out of the vehicle. Well, we were able to get her out, tossed himself in the back. Long story short, he ended up assaulting us and he ended up in handcuffs.
Whoa.
So, like, that's kind of a situation where, like, fucking fine, and then all of a sudden it wasn't fine. And that's. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, crass. You have to be crass sometimes. You just got to be. I mean, situation may call for it.
If you have a situation where you were crass, send an email to stateofjags@gmail.com.
Listen, I used to be a lot worse than I am now. A lot less filter than I have now.
Yeah,
We remember the less filtered
yeah,
Chris.
we can vouch for this.
I've improved dramatically.
Remember the time when you were like, I've tried really hard to not be angry anymore, and then I asked you a question, and you were like, oh, God damn it, Jen!
I
There's
think
certain
it was about
topics.
the election.
There's
I
certain.
don't think it was something political, but it wasn't the election, and we were standing outside talking.
So, in my past, I used to get really, really heated about political stuff.
I still
Because
do.
it's important. You need to have a passion for that kind of thing, I think. But in recent years, don't get upset anymore, because why am I stressing about things I can't control? let him out of control. So I'm, you know what? It's not really that important for me to be that upset about.
Yeah.
There's more important things I need to worry about.
All right, so final thoughts on Casey Anthony as we close out this episode.
My opinion, the bitch did it.
Allegedly.
That's why I said it's my opinion.
I
I
would agree with your opinion, and I also wish that the prosecution wouldn't have relied so heavily on circumstantial evidence and done a little bit more to bring that conviction home.
I understand the reasoning. Who proof beyond a reasonable doubt that she did it couldn't prove what crime was committed.
I think that's where it is more. I still think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, in my opinion, it is too.
I think there's very little doubt as to what actually occurred, but I think the fact that there wasn't physical evidence to back up how Kaylee died.
There's no cause of death. That's what really ruined it.
I think that's what did them in.
My opinion, the 80,000 plus people that follow Casey Anthony on TikTok, I don't care why you're following her.
Do better.
Shame on you.
Be better, people.
You have to do better.
I don't
Find
think
better idols.
I don't think we should give them type of people a platform.
No. If Casey Anthony is influencing people, there's a problem. Next episode, you mentioned influencers. I don't know who we'll talk about next. We have a good idea, I think, of influencers that we could talk about for the next episode.
I got a handful I could think about right now.
Oh yeah, we could probably do like a few episodes in a row. But we mentioned last episode somebody who got in trouble in the country of Japan, and somebody who is also a former WWE United States champion, Logan Paul.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we did. We brought him up.
Prime sucks. Their drinks are gross.
I've never had it. I couldn't tell you.
I've refused. I'm like, oh, when I want Prime, no, absolutely fucking not.
I think Paul brothers are really good at playing dickheads.
I don't think they have to play.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Here's a little inside scoop to if we do him in the next episode. I hate that he is so good at what he does in WWE.
He's ridiculously athletic.
He's insanely good at marketing himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's insanely good at it.
Perfect for that industry, for the entertainment value.
Yup.
And it irritates me. So I want to hate him. I do. But I'm like, damn it, he's
good at it.
He's perfect for this damn job.
Oh, rough status.
But that's a discussion for, next episode.
So, thank you to my wife, Jen, for joining us on this episode.
It was a pleasure.
Yes. I'm sure it wasn't a pleasure who we talked about, but
Allegedly, I think she's a bitch.
I don't think that's one you need a legend for. You don't have to commit a crime to be a bitch, but she a dumb bitch. Anyway, thank you for joining us on this episode of the State of Jags podcast. Chris, what don't we want people to be?
Don't be a jag.
Don't be a jag.
You know what I didn't say this episode?
What's that?
Douchebaggery.
Oh, there you go.
How did you not say douchebaggery?
I didn't even think about it.
Well, there you go. Say it one time before we go off the air.
Douchebaggery.
Casey Anthony, the epitome of douchebaggery. Don't be a jag. We'll see you next time on the State of Jags Address.